What is up? Hello. Um, yeah, so, uh, it's Saturday. Another stream, another, hopefully great day. And, honestly, and I'm looking at this right now on my camera, I really need a fucking, like, actual camera as opposed to using my laptop one. I'm hoping that, that could make the quality better. It has to. I mean, the laptop quality is pretty shit. But, yeah. Also, my microphone right here, I'm hoping that there won't be frequent, popping or anything like that. So, that's what's going on there. And, we have a little bit to talk about, I suppose. So this is going to be fun. And hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. um, yeah, I'm sorry if there is any popping. I'm trying to work around that. I do have a pop filter, which doesn't seem to work, so I'm not sure. But without further ado, let's get into the first thing for today. All right, so you guys know how conservatives have recently been boycotting and protesting against Disney. Well, from what I can gather, the main reason why that is happening is because they are accusing Disney of um, promoting a sexual agenda and are therefore grooming children. And they extrapolated that conclusion based upon Disney's support for LGBTQ plus individuals, or the community rather, and most notably their criticisms of Florida's recent legislation against the trans community. I'm assuming this, obviously encompasses the Don't Say Gay bill and probably a bunch of other, uh, you know, a bunch of other bills that were proposed and or passed. So that's happening, but we're also living in the same universe um, where this is happening. Let me just pull it up because it's pretty crazy. They are essentially. Let me just pull it up really quick because I want to just showcase this. This is just insane. Uh, one moment. Okay, hold on. That's weird. They just ruined the bit, basically. Oh my god. Alright, 1 second. All right. All right. This is one of the problems with doing shit live. Okay, when problems like this happen. Um, let's try that again. All right. Okay. All right. So do you guys know how like Disney has been recently been being boycotted and protested against by Republicans? Well, the main reason why is because they have been promoting, or not even promoting, but like supporting the trans community, and um, have been a vocal opponent to certain pieces of anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, especially in Florida, and presumably also with like the Don't Say Gay bill and probably other pieces of legislation across the country. So basically, Disney is trying to be inclusive and support the trans community and all that. And conservatives have made the claims that Disney is promoting a sexual agenda, that they are grooming children, and whatever else they want to claim. Now, keeping that in mind, we also live in the same universe where stories like this are making the headlines. So, in Tennessee, there was a marriage bill that was recently proposed, and it's pretty bad. So we'll read a little bit about it. So there was this new bill in Tennessee that would eliminate the age requirements for marriage in the state, claiming the bill would potentially allow children to get married. That is obviously the implication here. There is really no other reason to eliminate the age requirements for marriage other than to make it so that children have the capacity to get married themselves. Sorry about that, my dog's freaking out. Okay, so yeah, so that's really the main reason why a like this would even be proposed, this piece of legislation. um, okay, moving forward here. They criticized the bill on social media, a bunch of people, and it's being sponsored by this guy named Tom Leatherwood. The bill has passed the Tennessee House's Children and Family Affairs Subcommittee and is due before the House Civil Justice Committee on Wednesday. Um, Human rights lawyer tweeted, Tennessee Republican Tom Leatherwood has passed HB 233 out of committee. Leatherwood acknowledged there's no minimum age requirement on purpose. This is absolutely horrifying. Yeah, so like this, what this means is basically you can have like a 5-year-old girl get married to like a 40-year-old man. That's something that could happen in theory, and it's pretty disgusting. The current minimum age for marrying in Tennessee is 17. And Leatherwood, who has acknowledged that the new bill doesn't contain an age limit, defended the proposal by making references to religious beliefs. So, in other words, it's totally okay to have, like 50-year-old guys marrying like 17-year-old girls because, hey, it's religion. So, I mean, that kind of child exploitation and grooming and so on and so forth is totally fine because hey, I mean, religion, right? Right. So we get a little thing there. So there's obviously a lot of pushback with regards to this bill. Rachel Vindem, perhaps best known as the wife of whistleblower, okay, I don't know who that is, shared a tweet from Senator Josh Hawley about a bill that would impose tougher sentences on pedophiles. Okay. Eliminating the age of consent cannot possibly serve any legitimate purpose. Tennessee would be a haven for child sexual abuse. That's another factor to take into account because, as children are obviously impressionable, but also this sort of bill opens up the possibility for like very old guys to be, not just marrying younger girls, but also taking advantage of them sexually. And this is all textbook grooming. Um, and it's funny that these people call the trans community like groomers and pedophiles and shit like that, when literally those people who are making those same claims, Republicans, are the ones who are pushing forth bills like this. And this has been a problem amongst at least the country, but something that the GOP has specifically been fixated on for a while now. And Missouri is a destination supposedly of weddings for younger age children. And in 2018, and I'll get back to this one in a second here, but just to illustrate that this has been taking place for a while, like 5 years ago, there was this story came out. The U.S. governor rejects measure to ban child marriage. This was in New Jersey. And I believe the governor they're referring to here is Chris Christie, which, okay. The governor of New Jersey declined to sign a measure into law on Thursday that would have made the U.S. state the first to ban child marriage without exception. And he basically said religious beliefs is why that they don't want to ban it. Underage marriage is widespread in the United States, where about 170,000 children were wed between 2000 and 2010 in 38 of the 50 states where data was available, according to activists. And there was a bunch of loopholes in the country with, child marriage. So this took place, of course, like 5 years ago. But Missouri is a pretty bad one. In Missouri, children as young as 15 can be married with the consent of just one parent, even if the other parent actively objects to the marriage, and children of any age can be married with a judge's approval. According to the Kansas City Star, Missouri's lax child marriage laws have made it a destination wedding spot for 15-year-olds, particularly underage girls that are pregnant by older men. Oh my god. Where states like Idaho and Arizona require both parental consent and a judge's approval for children under 16 to be married, Missouri requires only a parent's approval. And unlike in Georgia, parents do not need to swear their approval before a judge, so a pregnant 15-year-old in Missouri can be married to her statutory rapist without ever coming under scrutiny of the law. Dude. Children can be married at any age in Missouri. Yikes. Holy shit. The same is true for the 24 other states, but need judge's approval. Okay, yeah. Around the world, poverty is a major driver of child marriage, according to Girls Not Brides. And child brides are likely to remain in poverty and become vulnerable other forms of abuse and injustice. Married children are often forced to rely on their spouses as they may be too young to do things like drive, open a bank account, or even check into an adult shelter if they are fleeing abuse. That's another problem. And this is why, the fact that they are being married here and at such a young age precludes them from access to certain resources that could otherwise help them escape abuse. And this inevitably leads to the the adults in the marriage to take advantage of the children. Um, so this is very fucked up. The most important reason we need to end marriage before 18 is because it can so easily be forced. Freddie Rice, founder and executive director of Okay. It is evil to give children the so-called right to enter into this really serious contract before they have the right to safely navigate this contract, to say no to the contract, to be able to get out. Yeah, so like this is basically, and by the way, these people who are pushing these laws are the same people, again, who are calling like trans people pedophiles and groomers. I mean, the amount of projection by conservatives is remarkable. So if we read a little bit more about just child marriage in general in the United States, reveals some just interesting information, I would think. So within the United States, each state's territory and federal district sets a marriage age in its jurisdiction. As of January 2022, in 9 states, there is no statutory minimum age when all exemptions were taken into account. These states are California, Massachusetts, Michigan, Mississippi. Okay, so we got that list. Between 2000 and 2018, nearly 300,000 minors were legally married in the United States. The vast majority of child marriages in the U.S. were between a minor girl and an adult man. That makes sense to me. In many cases, minors in the U.S. may be married when they are under the age of sexual consent, which varies from 16 to 18 depending on the state. In some states, minors cannot legally divorce or leave their spouses, and domestic violence shelters typically do not accept minors. Whew. Damn. Historically, child marriages has been a culturally acceptable practice, but today it is increasingly viewed as a form of child sexual abuse. Some international agencies, including the U.S. State Department, has declared it a human rights violation. Some researchers have concluded that there are consequences of child marriages, along with the threat of sexual abuse. Children may be subject to decreased education, early pregnancy, psychological trauma. And all in all, this is a very bad practice for those aforementioned reasons. So really, the idea that religion trumps things such as decreased education, early pregnancies, and psychological trauma is bullshit. It's just an excuse for Republicans to rape kids. I mean, that's basically what it is. By the way, this is the same party who has welcomed with open arms QAnon, the supposedly, trying to protect the children, like that, like agency or whatever, that movement, ideology, whatever you want to call it. The GOP, the party in which has welcomed and has open QAnoners in his party. This same party is also making it so child marriages continue to take place and are fighting tooth and nail to keep it in legislation. Also, it's just major projection. There's really nothing more to it than that in terms of the hypocrisy there. There's no singular justification for child marriage. Some marry in accordance with religious or cultural traditions. Others do so to avoid legal ramifications or of sexual activities with minors. Right. Traditionally, specifically in developing nations, one of the most common reasons for child marriage was avoiding negative stigmas associated with premarital sex and teen pregnancy. By arranging the marriage of minors, typically girls and boys or men who have been involved in sex before marriage, the families seek to save face and maintain respect within the community. Wow. Young females are more likely to be married than young males. According to statistics released by the Pew Research Center, 55% of the surveyed married children at ages 15 to 17 were female. According to the Frontline article, 87% of the child minors who got married from 2000 to 2015 were girls. So obviously there is a concentration of men who are trying to marry younger women, or younger girls, I should say. Um, if we look at some of the locations here, this is going to reveal some interesting information. It's more common in the southern United States. I mean, yeah. Um, in Texas from 2000 to 2014, almost 40,000 children were married. Wow, that's crazy. In Florida, 16,400 children, some as young as 13, were married from 2020 to 17, which is the second highest incidence of child marriage after Texas. Alabama, there's over 8,600 child marriages, the same time frame, minus 2 years. You're right. Okay. In Virginia, in Ohio, it's quite a bit. New York, yeah. So all in all, here's the deal. Republicans project very hard in terms of grooming and their pedophilic, you know, fantasies, I guess, because like they project that onto the trans community because the very existence of trans people is apparently pedophilic, and the fact that and you know it's just like it's just projection. That's basically it, and I feel like really looking under the hood here with the Republicans, you'll start to see that you know although they posture as though they want to protect children, and you see this time and time again in their rhetoric because they talk about it constantly about you know whether it's CRT or if it's gender ideology, all of it is discussed under the notion that they are trying to protect the children. Yet at the same time, they are pushing for legislation like this. They are, and this isn't just you know it's not just this, by the way, that kind of contradicts their message that they want to protect children or save children. Oh yeah, they also do it with abortion as well. They say they want to save the children or whatever. But they do so many things that contradict that. Like if they wanted to protect children, why did they decrease or defund WIC? Why did they defund welfare in general? Why do they push for these kind of legislations? Why do they want to not increase funding for Planned Parenthood? Why do they not want to increase sex education funding? There's so many ways in which they could protect children that they just choose not to do. Because at the end of the day, they don't actually care. They don't care if children are molested by 40-year-old men. They don't care if there are adult men who are trying to marry younger girls or vice versa. They don't care about any of that. They just care about it's all just a facade, I suppose. And in some cases, it's just or in a lot of cases rather, it's projection. So you know, don't expect Republicans to be principled in their stance about saving or protecting children because they don't care and they never have. Okay. Yeah, I think that went fine. Oh man, it is rough out here. Conservatives get, I mean, job security, right? Conservatives just give, all they do is give me content. I suppose we can move on to the Jimmy Dore, since, you know, we can go in order. Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry. I was just looking at Jimmy Dore's page, and just saw a title of the video. It's funny. All right, hold on. Let me just pull it up, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, we good? We good? All right. All right. So yeah. Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore. I've talked about him in the past. I talked about him. I know for sure on Twitch, but I don't think there's definitely a lot of people on my channel who haven't seen my or watched me on Twitch. So I guess I should repeat my opinion. My opinion of Jimmy Dore is that he is secretly a right winger who pulls disaffected lefties to the alt right by through the use of populist rhetoric and through focusing on certain Russian talking points. Unfortunately, he is effective in this, but I am here to slay the dragon, or as they say, David versus Goliath. I am only like fucking a. I'm an ant compared to his audience reach. He has over 1 million subscribers. I only have like 200. But I'm not here to. This isn't like about flexing or anything like that. Okay, but I guess I'm just here to give my perspective on his content and how he is able to rope in people on the left to the right. He's very effective in this. So if we look at his content, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up. Okay, we good. All right, we got it. If you look at his content here, it's very telling. So, like, just looking through here, like this, how the left lost its mind over COVID and became authoritarians. Okay, unhinged title. U.S. media pushes war, crime, propaganda in Ukraine. And I'm previewing this when he has Aaron Monte on, who's literally worked with the Russian government. So yeah, that's cool. The squad pushes war, imperialism in Ukraine. So yeah, you kind of get the gist, right? I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily he's a tanky, but he's definitely a subset thereof because he uses tanky rhetoric and talking points in order to pull, like I said, pull lefties to the right. And he fixates a lot really on he uploads like a lot, but a lot of his content revolves around anti-vax stuff, like war, imperialism, and shit like that. But anyway, his content is pretty bad. So we're gonna watch this video. I am interested in it for the main reason why, because Jewish group endorses Nazis in Ukraine. I get some, even for Jimmy Dore, we all know that he's a right winger, but we can't necessarily include any sort of like, I guess, Nazi-like tendencies. I mean, a lot of people speculate, rightfully so, that he's, that Nazgul type, but I don't know, dude. This is a spicy title here, but we'll read a little bit, or we'll watch, and we'll learn. Okay, we'll break it down.
I'm here with Howie Scora, the author of the new play called Gaslight House, which is at the Whitefire Theater in Sherman Oaks starting this weekend through June 4th. And right now I want to talk about the ADL and what's happening in Ukraine. And as I remind you, single tickets are now available in Orlando and Tampa, single VIP tickets, single general admission tickets. And for the rest of our schedule, too, we're now making single. You don't have to buy 4 tickets or 6 tickets or 8. You can buy one single ticket to come see a live Jimmy Dore show. Go to jimmydorecomedy.com.
By the way, I've in the past I watched his live shows. I maybe like a couple times, I don't know, but yeah, it's basically him just screaming at a screen and and riling up the crowd into hating AOC or something. Like, yeah, his his live shows are on the unhinged side. So if you want to get, if you want to see the breakdown of the human brain, or maybe a some sort of episode, some mentally unwell episode, then I would recommend watching Jimmy Dore scream in front of a live audience, because that's most of the time what happens when he does these live shows.
Link for all the tickets. And so we've told you that Ukraine has a lot of Nazis baked into their military officially. It's not, they don't try to hide it. They're groups of Nazis. The Azov battalion is one of them. And there's lots of Nazis that are in.
Wait, hold on. There's groups of Nazis in Ukraine, like militarily, right? The Azov battalion, yes. Can he name another one? Like everyone always says the Azov battalion, which is correct. But they say that it's this large-scale problem in the military. Can they name another group? Like, one more. Can they name one more? Also, what the fuck is this? Information liberation. What is this? I'm tempted to look it up. Hold on. Information liberation. Let's... Whoops. Alright, what is this? Okay, wait. Media bias check facts. We'll look at that. Because I don't trust Jimmy Dore as far as I could throw him. Alright. Overall, we rate information liberation questionable based on extreme right-wing bias, promotion of propaganda / conspiracies, and a lack of transparency. Wow. Okay, wait. He's using a far right-wing source to talk about Jews? Like, what Jews said and what they didn't say? Like, he's relying on the far right to accurately portray a Jewish institution and their... Okay. Extreme right propaganda, conspiracy, like, okay. Information does not disclose ownership. However, Chris Menahan is the only name associated with the website. That's really sussy-wussy. Anytime you see, like, a website, like a news website, that is just one person, that should ring red flags. I think the Palma Report is another one that's like that. But it's not actually as uncommon as you may think. Apparently there's, I mean, I just listed 2 examples there, but like, it seems like there's like at least enough websites or news websites that are run by like 1 or 2 people. According to their About page, Information Liberation was founded in 2005 as an independent news site dedicated to pursuing the truth wherever it leads, without apology and without care for being politically correct. Ooh. This last part here, politically correct. is a little suspicious. It has political connotations attached to it. It's kind of like a part. It's like something you would read Parler say. It's like, well, we just care about letting everyone speak, whether it's politically incorrect or not. That's something like right wingers usually say. So that's a red flag here. Also, who the hell is this? Chris Menahan. Who is this? Wait, Breitbart? He was seen on Breitbart. The far right. George, dude, are you serious? Wait, hold on. So, wait. So Jimmy Dore is using an article or source, a far right source from one person who the author of which was associated or worked with Breitbart, which is a far right, also a far right source. Are you serious? Okay. In review, this is crazy. In review, Information Liberation is a news and opinion website with an extreme right-wing bias. Virtually every article reports positively for conservative causes and negatively for liberals. They use loaded words to convey either positive or negative emotions. Hillary Clinton scolds Trump over Syria, explains why we need permanent war. Okay. It also publishes news that is sourced to right-wing bias, conspiracy, and questionable sources. In fact, they provided a list of sources that they link to their sidebar. This list reads like a who's who of conspiracy and questionable sources such as InfoWars, Gateway Pundit, and the Center for Immigration Studies. They also perform misleading fact checks. Wow. Okay, wait. So the supposed left winger Jimmy Dore. I'm sorry. I know I'm drilling down a lot in this, but this is inexcusable. You cannot use this source. Automatically, this is grounds for just completely dismissing what any sort of conclusions you can extrapolate from that article. Like, it is so biased and so politically motivated that it's like, and it's from one fucking person. This is inexcusable. This is at the very least, completely irresponsible from Jimmy Dore, and at worst, it's purposefully propagating propaganda. If we look a little bit on their website, I guess, I'll just look at the headlines. FBI frame up collapses. Okay. Sex changes for kids are life-saving. States banning operations will be held accountable. I have a feeling that that's not true, but okay. NBC News, U.S. putting out phony intel as part of the info war with Russia. I would like to read a little bit more about that, but I don't feel like digging through it right now. That seems like a neutral title. Ooh, this is a bad one. EU moves to sanction Hungary for voting the wrong way in Sunday's election. Oh, dude, that's not a good one. Yeah, so I think we kind of understand. Yeah. Okay. This is inexcusable, but we'll keep going.
Embedded in their government also. And so that's not a Putin talking point. People think, oh, Putin says that it's propaganda. No, that's for real. And go look at our other videos. We've documented it. It's not a little problem. It's a big deal. And now the ADL, which is the
What is that? Okay, so how is it a big deal? It's a big deal. Wait, hold on. So wait, hold on. So there is a ubiquitous presence of Nazis in not only the military but also the government. Okay, who are Nazis? Which ones? Are they in the room with you? Where are they? Like, okay, I'm not gonna say that like Ukraine doesn't have like Nazis in it because that would be false. They do, but how are we measuring? What's the threshold for it being a problem? Like, that's what I want to get at. Like, is it only a problem if it's Nazis within the government or within the military or whatever. I mean, if that's the case, then you need to demonstrate, like, where, like, who. I don't feel like fishing around in fucking Jimmy Dore's videos trying to find this evidence he apparently, provided.
Always forget what ADL, Anti-Defamation League.
Anti-Defamation League. Yep.
Got it. Anti-Defamation. I always want to say American something.
It's anti-defamation.
That's right. Got it. So the Anti-Defamation League. And they are primarily there to defend people from anti-Semitism. Am I wrong? Isn't that what the ADL?
Yeah, that's their whole.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. I want to look this up. Okay, so ADL defends neo-Nazis. Is that right? Is that the right thing? Defends Ukraine. Okay. Okay. I don't really know much about the Anti-Defamation League. I want to find this article so I can like dig through it and try to understand it. Information. That's also a sussy title. You can kind of get a sense of how suspicious a source is by the title. Alright. So this is the article that they are going over. I'm just going to quickly read a little bit through it. In an article titled "Why is Putin calling the Ukraine government a bunch of Nazis?" What is this? What the fuck is this? Why did they link me to the Wayback Machine? What? Did they take the article down? Okay. It's a very weird way to source your shit. The ADL interviewed David Fishman, professor of Jewish history, the Jewish theological... Yeah, okay. There are neo-Nazis in Ukraine, just as they are in the U.S. Okay. This is really, like, a weird article. Okay. I might be just getting ahead of myself. Let's just see what they say.
There to defend people from anti-Semitism. Am I wrong? Isn't that what the ADL...
Yeah, that's their whole shtick. That's what they started as. It was and
the Jewish organization, right?
Yep.
Okay. So that's why this is ultra ironic, because the ADL is defending Ukraine neo-Nazis. They, quote, don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions. So that's how corrupt the ADL can be.
Well, as a Jew,
Wait, how does that demonstrate corruption? What if Nazis, like, okay, you can be Nazi and hate Jews, but that doesn't mean that you're going out and actually enacting physical violence against Jewish people. I'm just saying, like, that could still be like a true statement, you know? It doesn't abandon any sort of principles on the ADL's behalf.
I'm relieved to hear that. that they're the good kind of Nazis. I'm so glad they're distinguishing that. They're the safe kind of Nazis.
You can't.
That's why they're neo.
Can you get crazier than this, Howie? I mean, as a Jewish guy, did you ever think you would see a day where the ADL...
They didn't teach us about good Nazis in Hebrew school. They really didn't. They said Nazis, bad.
That was that.
Nazis, bad. Very simple. Easy lesson.
The Anti-Defamation League, the leading pro-Israel lobbying group in America, published a Q&A defending Ukraine's neo-Nazi groups on the grounds that they don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions.
Well, maybe they're not good at their jobs. What can you say?
Maybe they're lazy.
They're just, yeah.
They're just going after who are they going after mostly? Just the gypsies? Who are they going after?
I honestly wouldn't know how to be a Nazi that doesn't go after Jews. It's just like it takes so much off the to-do list.
Well, they've been going after the Russians in the eastern Ukraine and the Donbass. That's what those Nazis in Ukraine have been doing. They've been shelling them for 8 straight years, and they've killed 14,000 civilians, which is what led to Putin's invasion. So,
whoa, wait, hold on. That's not true. Let's just get the facts right here, okay? There have been, first off, wait, hold on. That was actually so dumb of him to say. So, first off, there were shelling and many ceasefire violations between Ukraine and Russia for years. They were shelling each other back and forth. Okay, let's get the facts straight here. Additionally, that wasn't even the necessary driving factor for why Putin decided to invade Ukraine. I don't want to get too bogged down on this necessarily, but the main reason why, at least according to Putin himself, for invading Ukraine is to because he gave many reasons, or at least a couple of them, to invade Ukraine. One of which, and it seemed like this was the main one, is simply due to blood and soil, because of the historical ties that the Soviet Union has to the area within Ukraine and Ukraine as a whole. They also did it to connect the rivers, or connect Crimea to a water source or something like that. So there was that. That was another reason. It's not just because Ukraine, because Jimmy Dore is framing this as though Ukraine was the one who was shelling and provoked Russia into invading Ukraine, when that's not the case. Of course, the other reason for Russia invading Ukraine, again, is like because there's a Nazi problem in Ukraine, and that kind of justifies invasion.
Really off-brand. It's just really off-brand. That's all.
In an article titled, "Why is Putin Calling the Ukrainian Government a Bunch of Nazis?" the ADL interviewed David Fishman, a professor of Jewish history at the Jewish Theological Seminary, to explain why Ukraine's neo-Nazis aren't so bad. There are neo-Nazis in Ukraine, just as there are in the United States and in Russia for that matter, but they are a very marginal group with no political influence and who don't attack Jews or Jewish institutions in Ukraine.
So that is possible. You can be a Nazi, but you don't have any sort of political influence within the nation state you reside in. Also, it's possible is to be a Nazi, but not carry out any sort of hate crimes or anything like that against Jewish people. It is totally possible. Believe it or not, it is totally possible. Whether or not that's actually the case here, I would probably have to do a little bit more research into the history of hate crimes within Ukraine, between, like anti-Semitic hate crimes by Nazis specifically and all that. Like, it would take me a little bit of digging there, but like, considering the fact that the Nazi party, or the equivalent thereof, in Ukraine only received about 2% of the votes in the last election, I feel like it's safe to say that their political influence is pretty non-existent for the most part. I mean, 2% isn't even enough to receive a parliamentary seat. So I don't believe that this is necessarily a incorrect statement. So yeah.
Really doing this.
It's so strange to hear that Nazis are marginalized in that country. Because when you think of marginalized groups...
Wait, is he a fucking... Oh my god. Is he a fucking idiot? They didn't mean marginalized in that way. They meant like they're a group that has no political influence because they're not represented within the government. Oh my god. He's actually dumb. He's actually mentally handicapped.
Groups, you definitely usually don't mean Nazis.
That's right.
Like, you just don't. But they're marginalized.
And that's a lie.
Okay, first off, it's not a lie. Again, they only received 2% of the vote in the most recent election. But also, that's not what the guy said. Yeah, I don't know. These guys just lie blatantly right in your face.
They're not marginalized in Ukraine. The Nazis are embedded right in their government. Their National Guard, they have Nazi battalions, the Azov battalion. We've showed you this over and over. Mainstream news has written article after article.
Wait, hold on. The Azov... I know this. Okay, we all know that the Azov battalion is Nazi, but can they list any others? Is there more? Is there another battalion that is Nazi? That's, like, explicitly Nazi? Is there, like... Oh, no. Oh, my God. I'm not saying that, like, there aren't Nazis in Ukraine. There obviously are. But is it like a problem? First off, is it a problem unique to Ukraine? But also, is it a ubiquitous problem? There is a difference between those things. You can acknowledge that Nazis exist, but it doesn't necessarily indicate that it's ubiquitous, and it also doesn't necessarily mean that it justifies any sort of invasion of Ukraine from Russia. Because look at this, these guys are cowards. Because at the end of the day, they go, it's like the rhetorical equivalent of like ding dong dishing. Because what they'll do is they'll say, look at all these Nazis, guys. There's a bunch of Nazis in Ukraine, and they flirt with the idea of Russia, of justifying the Russian invasion of Ukraine, but they won't actually say that. They won't actually like sort of defend the Russian aggression towards Ukraine necessarily, like directly. They'll do everything but explicitly say that, because like even if there's a Nazi problem in Ukraine, how does that in any way justify Russia invading Ukraine at all? It doesn't justify any of those actions. So this is a really contrived, or not even contrived, but this is just like a weird thing to talk about during an active invasion against, this country. Even if Ukraine, again, had a Nazi problem, that doesn't justify them being invaded from Russia. It just doesn't.
About this up until we wanted to overthrow the Ukrainian government, which we did. The United States overthrew the Ukrainian government, and now they have a Nazi problem in their government. And that's not made up, but this guy's whitewashing it, this guy Fishman. Russia has for years highlighted the activity of marginal group of Ukrainian ultranationalists as a way of trying to stigmatize all of Ukraine. No, Russia hasn't done that, you liar, Fishman. You know who's done that? Every Western media outlet has also reported on the Nazi problem in Ukraine, embedded in your government, embedded in your military.
So, again, and I'll keep saying this till the day, till I'm on my deathbed, that does not justify Russia invading Ukraine. So why is he talking about this? Why is this a discussion right now? Because, again, keep in mind the context here. He's bringing this up during an active invasion from Russia. What other reason would there be to bring this up right now if it's not to at least implicitly defend Russian imperialism against Ukraine? There's no other reason for that. Also, I feel like the claims that there is a Nazi problem are a little bit exaggerated, if not completely exaggerated.
Individuals, but entire battalions. Go ahead, Howie.
Well, can't we call them a clique? Like, aren't they? They're a clique.
They're a clique.
It's just nicer.
Yes, some members of these ultra-nationalist groups have used Nazi insignia, made Hitler salutes, and used anti-Semitic rhetoric, but they are politically insignificant and in no way representative of Ukraine.
Yeah,
that's all fact. That's not true. None of that is true. Go ahead.
Well, what's a little swastika here and there on your Twitter? Like so judgy.
Oh my god. He didn't say that you're... Wait, hold on. I'm trying to process this because it's actually so dumb that it takes... Okay, so this quote right here doesn't say, hey, if you do Hitler salutes, and hey, if you do anti-Semitic rhetoric, and if you have Nazi insignia, you are maybe a Nazi, maybe not. That's not what this guy's saying. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying that members of the group that have done those things are politically insignificant.
Well, what's a little swastika here and there on your Twitter? Like so judgy.
Again, that's not what he said, but yeah.
The political parties, which the ultra-nationalists support, received just over 2% of the vote in the 2019 elections. Ukraine is a flawed democracy, but unquestionably a democracy and in no way a Nazi regime. Okay, they're not really a democracy because we overthrew their democratically elected government, and now their president has shut down all the opposition media and banned the opposition political parties. So to call it a democracy at this point is a big stretch.
Wait, hold on, Jamie Dore, hold on. So, Zelensky, barring certain political parties to be running, is because those political parties have close ties to Putin. They are heavily Russia influenced. So, I mean, yeah, I would say that's reasonable. I mean, since the leader of the what is the main opposition party in Ukraine again? It's I think it's called the opposition party or something. It's actually something very generic. But the main opposition or the party in which he's saying that they barred or banned from running right now is one in which the leader has close ties to Putin. You know, the dictator Putin, who's ordering a military invasion of their country. Yeah, I feel like that's reasonable.
Fair enough.
Ukraine neo-Nazis are the good...
I mean, democracies need to be self-correcting, right? Like, you can't just have people who want to dismantle... Like, that party that they're banning is, you know, anti-democratic, so I feel like it's reasonable to ban them, but yeah.
Type of neo-Nazis because they're funded and armed by Israeli billionaires.
There you go. There you go.
There you go.
That's a bad quote. Hold on, let me look at it again. Ukraine's neo-Nazis are the good type of neo-Nazis because they're funded and armed by Brazil. Assuming this is not taken out of context, this is a bad quote. Neo-Nazis are neo-Nazis are neo-Nazis. You can argue that some neo-Nazis are more... They act more upon their political ambitions, maybe. Or who have more political significance, but this is just worded awkwardly, so yeah.
Billionaires!
There you go. There you go.
There you go. Profile. Who are Ukrainians' far-right Azov regiment? The far-right neo-Nazi group has expanded to become part of Ukraine's armed forces, a street militia, and a political party.
All right, so let's look this up a little bit, okay? How many people are in the Azov battalion? Okay. The Azov Special Operations Unit, infantry, between 900 and 1,500 members. Okay. Huh. Wow, that's a lot of people. What is that, like 0.2% of Ukraine's population? Maybe 1%? Huh. Wow. Hey guys, let's wrap it up, okay? Let's just let the tanks roll in from Russia. We got a fucking problem on our hands.
Are answered.
So what is the Azov Regiment? Azov is a far-right, all-volunteer infantry military unit formed as a volunteer group in May 2014 out of the ultra-nationalist Patriot of Ukraine gang and the neo-Nazi Social National Assembly group. Both groups engaged in xenophobic and neo-Nazi ideals and physically assaulted migrants, the Roma community, and people opposing their views.
So he doesn't need to convince me of, or really anyone for that matter, that the Azov Battalion is a far-right Nazi group.
Here it is, winning hearts and the PR war, but Ukraine has a Nazi problem that NATO and the United States do not talk about. That's from February 2022. That's from February 2022.
Why does he keep using these weird sources? What is this? Quiplinda? What the fuck is that? First off, that's a sensationalized title. It leads me to believe that this is kind of another like tanky sort of... Okay, let's do our due diligence, guys. This is what you're supposed to do, right? As a responsible citizen. Oplinda? I don't know. Oplinda. I don't know. Oh, there we go. Let's just look at the wiki, right? Oplinda is an Indian right-wing news portal founded in December 2014 by these two people. The website published... Oh my god. Hey guys, the only true lefty in the room here is Jimmy Dore, okay? Only true lefties will use far-right news sources to discuss Nazis, and yeah. So they're anti-Muslim. They publish fake news. They are critics of the liberal media. Yeah, I don't know about you. Okay, so it's an Indian. Okay, I don't know about you, but I want to take a right-wing Indian source to discuss NATO and the United States and the ongoing war in Ukraine. I feel like that's just a little bit, like, not reliable. I mean, and plus, look at this. Look at the way this is phrased. Like, yeah. I mean, like, that's amazing.
Cartel of Western nations, who is otherwise swift and prompt in condemning anti-Semitism, look the other way, nay, openly arm and encourage fascist groups with neo-Nazi leanings, if that helps them in thwarting their opponents and reasserting their hegemony. So they'll get in bed with literal Nazis if it helps them politically. Commentary, Ukraine...
Wait, hold on. As opposed to Putin, right? Putin and Russia has a far greater Nazi problem than Ukraine, and they're currently invading another country. Why are they not the main source of your scorn right here? It's just a little interesting, you know. He's not mentioning Russia or how they're have an actual dictator, you know, and have a larger Nazi problem. Just something to keep in mind, I guess.
Neo-Nazi program. There it is from Reuters. When is this from? This is from March 2018.
That looks like the Tiki.
That looks
Nazi march in our country.
Yeah, it looks like what happened in what was that? Charleston.
Yeah, it looks almost exactly like a exact replica.
Here's Time Magazine getting in on telling you about the Nazis. Like, share, and recruit how a white supremacist militia uses Facebook to radicalize and train new members. The Azov battalion inside Ukraine's white supremacist militia.
Wait, hold on. I don't know if I trust this. Is this the name of the video? Because this looks like it's from a tweet. And the titles, I don't believe... Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm just being autistic right now.
That's frickin' Time Magazine. So again, this isn't Putin propaganda. These are facts reported in the news. But right now, if I talk to my old college roommate, he's going to tell me that, oh, that's Putin. I said, well, you know, they're in bed with Nazis. He goes, Jimmy, that's what Putin says. Yeah, Putin also says the water is wet. That doesn't mean it isn't.
Okay, so this is obviously stupid, which I'm about to explain why. So the thing that's actually propaganda here, this is still propagandistic. So the reason why is because they're exaggerating first off, they're exaggerating the presence of Nazis within Ukraine. But additionally, they're using that supposed ubiquity of Nazis to justify their invasion. The part that's propagandistic is them employing the supposed ubiquity of Nazis within Ukraine as a means of justifying their invasion. So it's, and by the way, again, that's not the only reason why Russia is invading Ukraine, but it's not propaganda to say, hey, there's Nazis in Ukraine, because there are. What is propaganda, though, is to say, hey, there are Nazis in Ukraine, and Russia needs to fix that. And Russia going into Ukraine and doing shelling the country, is, hey, look, I mean, you gotta crack a few eggs to make an omelet, right? Like, that's just how it is. I mean, they're Nazis, so it's all good. This is disgusting. And the fact that he, again, is selectively fixating on Ukraine with Nazis and not Russia, which has a much larger scale Nazi problem, I would argue, is, again, at the very least, irresponsible. And at worst, he's maliciously propagating, Russian propaganda. So it's really a little sussy-wussy, I would say.
That's how propaganda works. If I ever want to see how propaganda works, all I have to do is call my old roommate. Here's Rokana. Ever since the Orange Revolution began under President Bush, the U.S. has been complicit in the rehabilitation and spread of neo-Nazis in Ukraine. This is a congressman who is now arming those same Nazis. That's why this is important, because he tweeted this out before, in 2018, before we knew that the United States wanted to overthrow Putin and do a proxy war in Ukraine. That's before. So before he was able to tell the truth about it, Rokana no longer tells the truth about Ukraine. He's a lying imperialist.
Why does it always come back to, like, scorn with this guy? Like, he always comes back to, like, calling out certain people in the government, which I guess is fine, but, like, this is a couple years old, right? Like, I don't know. Like, people change, and I don't know. It just seems weird.
Enough is enough. Our government must stand up to the Azov battalion and other fascist groups. So that was him giving you a head fake and letting you think he was a decent person who was also a progressive politically who wanted to fight against Nazis. He doesn't. He wants political power for himself, and he'll use whatever track that'll get it for him. And right now, before it was standing up to Nazis, now it's arming Nazis. So whichever way the wind blows, that's the way Rokana is going to go.
I have not been following Rokana as closely, apparently, as Jimmy Dore has. But it's kind of weird that, like, he digged up, like, a 3-year-old, at this point almost a 4-year-old tweet from Rokana, and, like, the only way in which he could have found that is if he went on Rokana's page and then, like, typed in, like, Azov Battalion or something, like, some sort of keyword, so that way he can just signal his hypocrisy. I mean, again, this was a while ago. People change. I don't know. Again, I don't know what his current position is, like Rokana, but it's just a little weird that I don't really know what his point was with that. I guess it was just to say that politicians will do what they want to get power, or like they don't actually stand for anything. I don't know. That it doesn't make sense to me either.
He's a politician. That's what they do. They're all like that. They don't have morals or character or ethics.
Yeah, that is the main point of his previous mentioning of Rokana there. Again, that's really weird though. Like, we all know that. So what's the point of saying it?
The neo-Nazi problem in Ukraine is just Russian propaganda. There they are. And
wait, hold on. You can't just say there they are and then assume that that's not, like, that's like real. For all we know, these are fucking Russians. Just, yeah. Like, what is this? Are you kidding me? You're gonna take a fucking Ryan Knight? Like, what the fuck is this? I mean, maybe this is actually Ukrainians, but how the fuck are we supposed to know if he doesn't source his shit right? You can't just take a tweet and say, yeah, this is it. That's not doing proper sourcing.
It's Russian propaganda. There they are. And guess what? This is the ADL. This is what Ben and Jerry's decided to stop sales of ice cream in the Palestinian-occupied territory to protest Israel's occupation and brutal oppression of the Palestinians. We are disappointed by this decision from Ben and Jerry's. You can disagree with policies without feeding into dangerous campaigns that seek to undermine Israel. Yeah, that's the whole point. You're trying to put an economic hurt on Israel's government so that they stop oppressing the Palestinian people. That would be the whole point of that.
I'm not really sure how this has anything to do with Ukraine and Nazis in Ukraine, so I'm not even going to talk about it.
You know, like you guys are all doing enough to Russia, like you all did to Libya, like you all did to Iraq, like you all did to Syria, Afghanistan, Yemen, any place you don't like the people. I love this tweet. It says, ADL, well, they're not Nazis.
Wait, what's he doing? Is he just taking random people on Twitter that you saw and got triggered by? Like, how many likes? Who the fuck is this?
Exactly. They're not the bad kind of Nazis.
Yeah. ADL says the Ukrainian neo-Nazis ain't all that bad once you get to know them. So that's how bad it's gotten.
Wait, hold on. It's really hard to take this guy seriously. He's just pulling at random people. I could find someone on the internet saying, I like fingering my own asshole. Like, this could be, like, you could find anyone saying anything. I don't know what this is supposed to prove. That there's a majority of people who agree with him? Like, even if that's true, how does that prove that you're right? That's no relationship between what's right.
How the ADL, the group of Jews.
I don't feel very defended by the ADL right now as a Jew, that they're telling me there's certain kind of Nazis that are okay.
They're
1 second, please. I'm so sorry. Hello?
Hey, is Jack booked yet?
No.
Okay. And I forgot to tell you this, but you didn't by any chance tell your dad about the $16,000.
No.
Thank God. Okay, please don't tell him, because then we're gonna be sitting there, and he comes to dinner, the entire time, we're just gonna talk about what we need to do, spending our weekends doing hard manual labor, digging trenches in our backyard.
I know.
Like he did last time we were pregnant. So yeah, please don't tell him, or he's gonna be.
All right. Okay.
Oh, cops are on today.
All right. Well, I'll see you soon.
Trying to rush me off the phone.
A little bit.
Why?
I don't know. I'm just.
There are certain kind of Nazis that are okay. Apparently, you're not a good Jew, I bet.
I'm a terrible Jew.
Terrible
Really
Jew.
bad.
Hey, we're doing our live stand-up tour. We're going to be in our...
All right, cool. Well, that was fun. That was so fun. A lot of what he said was basically stupid, so I don't feel like I should even engage with it too much. A lot of these are so weird. The squad pushes war and imperialism in Ukraine. Okay. He talks about them a lot. I guess we can look into it a little bit. I don't know how much of this I'll watch, but I gotta get. I know I need to get my daily fix of Jimmy Dore.
Okay, I'm here with the American comedian Kurt Metzger, and what we're talking about.
So this is the title: "The Squad Pushes War and Imperialism in Ukraine."
Is the Ukraine war and how the squad has reacted to it.
So let's read this. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia is profoundly concerning, but military conflict is not the solution. We must seek a diplomatic resolution rather than escalating tensions to avoid sanctions that hurt the Ukrainian people. Well, sanctions wouldn't be placed on Ukraine, so that's a weird thing to say. And military conflict would not... I mean, in terms of... I believe she's referring to, like, NATO and NATO members using military means. I feel like that's... Yeah, we shouldn't be using the military. We should just keep doing what we're doing in terms of, like, just sanctioning Russia and funding Ukrainian supplies and weapons and all that.
Here's what AOC tweeted out. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia is profoundly concerning, but military conflict is not the solution. We must seek a diplomatic resolution.
And also, when was this... First off, what... Is this from Facebook? Or Twitter? Also... how many... Like, when was this published? Like, what date? Because that would be very important to know.
Solution rather than escalate tensions and avoid sanctions that hurt the Ukrainian people.
Good.
She deleted that tweet.
Oh, good. Oh, thank God.
So,
Wait, hold on. She deleted... on February 7th. Oh, this is the People's Party who retweeted this? Are you kidding me? Wait, the People's Party is like not a... Yeah, they're not... Okay. Alright. Alright, I see now.
So the People's
I don't know what's
So the
happening.
People's Party tweeted this out. It says AOC began... Okay. Let me see. Okay. It says AOC began February by tweeting that we must avoid sanctions. She then deleted the tweet. By the end of February, she supported the sanctions. Conclusion, AOC and the squad are very much a part of the establishment. #you.
Wait, hold on. How does that prove that she's part of the establishment? You could have you could believe one thing and then be like, oh, wait, no, I believe something else, and it's not actually indicative of any sort of sellout or to the establishment. I think, and this was deleted, it looks like it was deleted on the 7th of February. When did the invasion begin? Didn't it begin in, like late February? So, yeah. Well, and this is deleted, yeah, like, okay.
Ukraine.
She has to make deals. That's how she helped get this union thing done.
Yeah. So she kept this tweet up for a whole week before she deleted it. And so here, let's take a look at the squad. The squad calls for Ukraine intervention in Ukraine. Progressive. This is from Left Voice. Progressive members of Congress.
Hold on. Who's Left Voice? Hold on. Left Voice. Is there like a media bias check or anything like that? I can tell whether or not a website is full of shit if by just the way they phrase their titles here. Oh, that's interesting. This is a little suspicious. Okay, I don't know shit about this. But it looks like it's something that Jimmy Dore would like, so that makes sense.
Are calling for sanctions against Russia as the war in Ukraine continues to escalate. We need an anti-war movement that condemns every call for U.S. intervention of any sort. And that's by Sam Carliner.
Wait, this is... Okay. It says progressive members of Congress are calling for sanctions against Russia as the war in Ukraine continues to escalate. We need an anti-war movement that condemns every call for U.S. intervention. This is a fucking brain-dead ass fucking take here. So, unfortunately, the world isn't perfect, and the idea of just standing by and letting Russia invade Ukraine and not doing anything to stop it is akin to being complicit with Russia. So, I don't know what these people would want. I don't know if anti-war to them means let other countries invade other countries forever until Russia controls the entire world. I really don't know. Because they say right here to condemn every call of U.S. intervention, but not every act of U.S. intervention is necessarily bad. Like, sanctioning Russia right now is a good thing. So, yeah, I don't know. This is just a really stupid take.
And that's from February 26th.
Also, there's no commentary. Like, he just says stuff, you know?
And on February 23rd, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or Sandy, as she was called before she ran for office, she first weighed in on the war in Ukraine, calling for the United States to escalate its intervention using sanctions. She tweeted the following message from her...
Well, hold on. It's not escalating. It's a proportional response. If anything, it's a disproportional response insofar as it's less severe because Russia invaded Ukraine militarily and is currently killing people, or was killing people. And putting sanctions on that country that are doing this seems totally reasonable to me, at least. I mean, you can't just let a country invade another one without repercussions.
Her congressional Twitter account.
So it's not even like an escalation. It's just like we're gonna do something to like punish you for, killing people.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine is indefensible. The U.S. is right to impose targeted sanctions on Putin and his oligarchs. We also must work. Is right. So she was against them. Now she's for him. We also must work with our allies to prepare.
Why is he obsessed with the supposed hypocrisy here? I'm really just. These guys are so obsessed with AOC. It's crazy.
For a refugee crisis on a massive scale. Finally, any military action must take place with congressional approval.
And yes, in advance.
And of course, you have my approval of the military and sanctions.
Wait, I don't. So did they disagree? I'm confused.
Since
Did they want? Wait, hold on. Do they want like non-congressional approval of war and military operations?
then, other members of the squad of progressives, members of Congress, have spoken out. Cori Bush joined the calls for sanctions, and Jamal Bowman released a statement condemning Russia's unchecked imperialism and Putin's violation of international law.
I'm sorry, but if you think that putting sanctions on Russia is too severe or an escalation, then you're honestly a dumb fuck. I'm sorry. But the fact that Jimmy Dore is titling this video pushing for war and imperialism in Ukraine is ridiculous. It is completely ridiculous.
Boy, that Jamal Bowman is really revealing something, even faster than AOC did, that he's a complete sellout piece of it.
Was he on Bill Maher not that long ago? I think he was.
Being a sellout is when you want to sanction a country that tries to kill other people and invades another sovereign nation.
And he came off like, wow, you're going to like Congress practice to say all the things
Yes,
with like
yes.
a big smile.
I don't know if he was. I don't watch Bill Maher that closely, but I'll look. Here's Cori Bush. She said, we must impose swift sanctions targeted at Putin's oligarchs,
Good.
who have made the Russian economy one of the most unequal in the world, unlike the United fucking States, huh?
These people are so obsessed. Anytime someone rightfully calls out Russia for something, they're always like, well, what about the United States? They're bad too. Like, okay. No one said they were not. Like, right here, Cori Bush is not saying the U.S. is good. Like, everything always has to be, like, if you believe this, then what about the United States? Oh, Russia is doing imperialism? What about the United States? Russia is an unequal economy? What about the United States? It's like, these people, you can actually, in real time, see their brain churning at 2 miles per hour, and all they can think is America bad. It's almost like it's almost like a cough, okay? It's reflexive. Anytime the word Russia is mentioned in a sentence, they have to follow it up with, what about the United States?
Well, they have unchecked imperialism. You know how that sucks.
That's as well as the Russian military. Okay. She then says, I have long opposed mass, broad-based sanctions that would cause grave, deadly harm to civilians for the decisions of corrupt oligarchs. And in Russia, it's no different. Broad-based sanctions would not only be ineffective, but would also condemn a generation of Russians into poverty and mass suffering. Now, she's right when she says that, but it's weird because it sounded like here she was actually calling for sanctions, but she was calling for targeted sanctions. Now, I don't know what those are. And apparently, neither do the other people.
Okay, by the way, the stuttering on the screen is not my computer. That's on Jimmy Dore. I don't know what's going on. This guy makes so much money from RT, yet he somehow doesn't have enough to invest in his own show.
She then voted against these sanctions. She voted against them. So that's good that Cori Bush voted against them. Bauman's statement says nothing about U.S. imperialism and its 800 there's more than 800 military bases around the world. Instead, Bauman says that he is committed to supporting the Biden administration in holding Putin and his oligarchs accountable. So you see the kind of slippery, slimy guy that Jamal Bowman actually is. He's a slimy guy.
But Jimmy, somebody has to be Darth Vader, and shouldn't it be America?
Why do these guys work backwards from their conclusion all the time? They're like, you see how he's a slimy guy for wanting to sanction Putin? What a slime ball. He wants to work with Biden to make Putin's life a living hell? Ooh.
Here we go. Not one of these three members of Congress states categorical opposition to U.S. military action in Ukraine. And what they do say is dangerous. They're calling for the United States to wage economic warfare.
Good. Based.
Support for sanctions, which only really hurt the working classes of countries subjected to them, sets up a political justification.
That's not necessarily true. I wouldn't expect these people to understand what sanctions are, but, these are grifters, so they're not paid to actually research or do any due diligence about the meaning of words.
For military intervention that would have devastating consequences.
Like, okay, for example, an embargo would be an act of war, and that would be like an escalation, almost if not akin to like actually waging war. You know, an embargo is an actual act of war, but sanctions are not.
For workers and the oppressed around the globe. At this point, there should be no illusions that AOC, Cori Bush, or Jamal Bowman are even remotely part of the anti-imperialist movement. They have made this clear time after time. AOC went along with bipartisan attempts during the Trump administration to back a coup in Venezuela. Do you remember?
Anti-imperialism to these people mean America bad. If Russia conducts imperialism by way of employing blood and soil logic to justify invasion of a neighboring nation state, that's not imperialism. Just so we get the facts straight. Also, it wasn't just Russia invaded Georgia in 2008 too. Like, do these people have like short-term memory loss? Like, how is that? How are these examples not examples of imperialism from Russia? They just do it in a different way. You know, the United States conducts imperialism by way of through the IMF and through more economic reason or more economic ways. And Russia does it the old guard way, which is to invade nations.
Remember that? She said she was going to defer to the caucus.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go take out my dog. So be right back. right, sorry. Let's continue. We're almost done. And I also got a little chilly, so.
Their recent calls for intervention show they are not allies of a movement against war. If we are against sanctions, we must oppose anyone who calls for them, especially when they do so within the halls of Congress. Now is the time to take a stand against pro-war politics. I'm with you. Here.
It's actually not, believe it or not, it's not pro-war to be wanting to push sanctions on a country that's invading another country. It's not pro-war to do something in retaliation of someone initiating a hot war. And it's certainly not imperialist.
Here. Anti-imperialists and anti-war activists in the United States must make it very clear there can be no more escalation of this conflict. All who oppose war must oppose any intervention by the United States. That includes sanctions.
This comes off really weird. This is almost like something Russia would say. Like a Russian plant within the United States. They're like, hey guys, you know, if you really want to be anti-war, you better just oppose the United States from doing anything to stop us from doing imperialism ourselves. Like, this is just really fucking weird. This seems like something a Russian plant would say. I'm not trying to be like conspiracy theorist. Like, I'm just saying, like, it just, does this not read like something RT would say? RT America, rather.
Do you think sanctions, people think of it a lot like how they think of a no-fly zone? They
Yes.
have no idea what it is.
They have no idea what it is, what it actually...
Should we starve them? Like, yes,
that's what you're saying.
No, targeted starvation. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Target it's like a surgical strike, you know? Like
so the idea of sanctions is you put such a hurt on this regular people of a country that the regular people will rise up against their leaders. That's what they're trying to actually inflict so much fucking pain that people go out and try to overthrow their government.
How about this though? Let's think about this a different way. Why doesn't Russia just not invade other countries? Why don't they just not do that? That's something that you know, there seems to be some responsibility on Russia here. Like, why don't they just stop like invading countries? You know, like, yeah, sanctions aren't ideal, but fuck, wait, you can't just, what, are you gonna let them fucking run around invading other countries? Like, come on.
even on their cat shows and tennis players.
Even on their cat, that's right.
Every little bit helps.
Every little bit. And this is from The Nation, and this is from March 11th of 2022. It says, Congress is eager to sanction Russia, whatever the cost. With an unprecedented array of sudden financial restrictions, ordinary Russians are carrying the burden of the global conflict. This week, the House overwhelmingly passed legislation to ban imports of Russian fuel and authorize further sanctions. Representatives Ilhan Omar, Cory Bush were the only Democrats to vote against the bill, citing the impact economic isolation will have on the Russian people. So tip of the hat to Ilhan Omar and Cory Bush for actually standing by what she said. Now, I have a feeling they were given the green light by Nancy Pelosi to vote against it. That's what
there's nothing that you can do to make Jimmy Dore not believe that, or there's nothing that you can do to make Jimmy Dore believe that the Squad are the most left-leaning people in Congress. To him, they're just the same as any other Democrat. And even when they do something that he apparently agrees with, he just says, you know, well, they probably got the green light from Nancy Pelosi, so it's like, it doesn't actually count. Like, yeah, there's really nothing you can do to, like, make him have a favorable opinion of you know, the Squad, I guess. Because he lives off of, you know, his base, you know, Jimmy Dore's audience is, you know, Russian shrills. And they hate the Squad, they hate Democrats, like, they just, that's just how it goes, I guess.
I think, because that's how things work, and they have already revealed that they will never cross Nancy Pelosi. So I'm sure they got the green light to do this. And if Nancy Pelosi needed the vote, she would have got it out of them. That's my theory.
That's so cynical.
That's very sad. No, I'm very. I have serious concerns that the Suspending Energy Imports from Russia Act will become yet another clear example where a policy stays on the books well past its utility because the political will to lift it has never materialized. That's what Ilhan Omar said about her vote on the fuel ban. Punish Fidel Castro for president.
All right, I stop. I'm done caring now. All right, look, ready? The long and the short of it is this. Jimmy Dore is a liar. He misrepresents a lot of stuff, and he uses questionable sources when he's doing these segments. So I think it's fair to say that he should not be taken seriously. Also, he does that. I mean, he's a very, very obvious grifter. He does a lot of this you know, for whether it be clout or for financial gain, whatever you want to say. But he doesn't actually. Maybe he does believe some of the shit he says, but like, you know, he used to be on the TYT. But at the end of the day, he focuses a lot on demonizing the squad, for signaling hypocrisy, for propagating or perpetuating rather Russian propaganda. So like, yeah, he is just this is one of the big reasons why I have a big problem with him. So that is that. I don't know, dude. He's fucking crazy. Okay. I guess we could go to the next thing. And speaking of Russia, all right. So you know how like Jimmy Dore was talking a lot about fucking Russia and how the United States was conducting like, you know, like he's trying to signal hypocrisy or something with the United States. Hold on, I'm gonna take this off. I'm getting hot now. Well, apparently there is a oh wait, hold on. I'm sorry. Before I move on to this, there's one last thing I would like to mention about Jimmy Dore, and then we can end the segment there. Okay. Let me find it. And my dogs are gonna bark for a second, so sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. Let me go calm them down. Okay, actually, I can just move on to the next segment. So, there have been reports of Russian war crimes taking place in Baka. Oh fuck. Well, there's been reports of Russian war crimes in Russian-controlled areas within Ukraine. And we're going to read a little bit about that. So, Human Rights Watch has documented several cases of Russian military forces committing laws of war violations against civilians in occupied areas of Chernihiv, Kharkiv, and Kiev regions of Ukraine. These include a case of repeated rape, 2 cases of summary execution, one of 6 men, and the other of one man, and other cases of unlawful violence and threats against civilians between the 27th of February and the 14th of March. Soldiers were also implicated in looting civilian property, including food, clothing, firewood. Those who carried out these abuses are responsible for war crimes. So basically, there were Russian soldiers in certain areas of Ukraine that were conducting mass rapes, mass looting, and executions of civilians. This is one such picture that illustrates that. Hey! Calm down. So pretty fucked up, right? Now, interestingly, there was... Speaking of Jimmy Dore, he was discussing with Aaron Monte about something, and if you read here, Aaron Monte accidentally undermines Dore, admitting authentic images of Russian genocide of Bucha citizens. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but I just don't know how to say it. May be accurate. So Aaron Monte is accidentally undermining Dore in the authenticity of the war crimes conducted by Russia. Satellite footage matches bodies in the streets of Bucha to dates well before the Russians left, which means these people were killed while Russia was there. So let's just watch this a little bit, because apparently a lot of people, or a lot of like Aaron Mate and people such as Jimmy Dore, those kind of people, they are obviously denying that this is happening and that it's like a false flag or some bullshit. I don't fucking know. But it did. It seems as though it has happened, and let's just look at this clip real quick.
Let me bring in Aaron. Well, let me show you one more thing before I have you comment on this. Here's Max Blumenthal's tweeting out a gray zone report.
Okay, so right off the bat, the gray zone, if you guys don't know, is unreliable and is a tanky news source. So basically everything that gray zone says, do not believe. Same with with Fox News. Honestly, Fox News may even have more credibility than the gray zone. So the gray zone is not, and also Max Blumenthal is an unreliable propagandist as well. So like, there's so much wrong with this already.
That says new witness testimony about the Mariupol maternity hospital airstrike follows a pattern of Ukrainian deceptions. So they were saying that the Russians were bombing a hospital with a maternity ward in it, and that was a war crime, and it was getting people upset. Gray Zone did a little investigating, and it turns out that story's bogus, and it followed a hospital with a maternity ward in it, and that was a war crime, and it was getting people upset. Gray Zone did a little investigating, and it turns out that story's bogus.
But again, remember, we cannot trust the gray zone. You cannot trust the gray zone. The gray zone is unreliable and is heavily Russian influenced and sympathetic towards Russia.
And it following a pattern just like this recent story. He reports of Russian massacre of scores of civilians in the town of Bucha also contains suspicious details suggesting a pattern of information manipulation aimed at triggering Western military.
So if you read this in its entirety, like, this is obviously an excerpt of something else, but like, if you read this here, what this is saying is basically nothing, because it's saying that, well, hey, there's been reports of this happening, but there's some sussy stuff going on that's just aimed at riling up the West and trying to increase the probability of military intervention. And they don't actually say what those suspicious details are, at least right here. Now, they may get into it in a second here, but I'm just saying right now, we don't know what those details that they had supposedly found.
Prevention.
So, yes, in terms of the allegations about what happened in Bucha, the Times has just come out, and I haven't read the story yet, but apparently the...
Also, this is Aaron Monte. If you don't know who he is, which I'm sure most of you guys do know him, but if you don't, he's also someone who is very unreliable in terms of recounting information, like, in a non-Russian perspective. I believe, didn't he like he was on the Human Rights Council for Russia, and they were talking about like there were like war crimes in Syria or something. I don't know. He spoke on the behalf of Russia at the UN. So like a very unreliable source here. You're basically asking like a Russian informant to give their investigation reports about a genocide taking place from Russia. It's really silly and bad sourcing from Jimmy Dore. But again, keep in mind, Jimmy Dore is not an investigator. He's not a reporter or anything like that. But he postures as though he's giving you the straight dope, when actually he's just spoon feeding you Russian propaganda.
What they did is they looked at satellite footage that matches bodies in the streets of Bucha to dates well before the Russians left, which means that these people were killed while Russia was there. Which means that, look, if these images are accurate, then it's quite possible that the allegation is correct, that Russia committed war crimes. There's no, war crimes happen in war, and it's awful, but unfortunately.
He would not be saying this if it was the United States. Just keep that in mind. This sort of like tepid, like, oh, hey, this is just par for the course with war. He would not be saying this if this was the United States at all.
Fortunately, the way this is being treated is then this would be grounds to accuse Russia of genocide or to intervene militarily, as people like Ali Belshi want. It's ridiculous. You can go back and look at the U.S., look at the Haditha massacre inside Iraq. Awful massacres, war crimes committed by the U.S. And there's many more examples.
I don't know what that is specifically referring to, that exact thing, but it is interesting that they're, again, this is what I said earlier. Anytime Russia gets accused of doing something bad, they have to loop back over and try to implicate America and say, well, America is bad too. Here are the receipts. Like with this, yeah, there's a lot of evidence suggesting that Russia conducted some sort of genocide there or something, war crimes. And they're saying, yeah, but that's just what happens in war. I mean, look in the United States. They did this in the Middle East or whatever. It's ridiculous. It's a red herring. So it's just keep in mind that like these people, anytime Russia does something, it always has to go back to, well, yeah, but the United States bad. That's their line there. That's the way in which they can get out or squirm away from any sort of bad things that Russia does, including invading Ukraine. There's some other shit too, like that they've.
We are in Bucha, and you can see the car with the family which tried to escape from here, and Russian troops just attacked this car, and the result is next. There were 3 people.
Ooh, I didn't. Okay, hold on. I'm not gonna show that because I didn't. Okay, so that's just them just talking about some of the degree in which the atrocity was taking place. But yeah, if we read a little bit more here, you kind of get it's basically Russia conducts war crimes. That's it. And this is not something new. They've done this also, I believe, in Syria. And also they've defended, or rather have claimed that, Russia that is, that Assad did not use chemical weapons against his citizens. And, like like Russia is obviously lies all the time. I basically take whatever Russia says, just take the opposite, and that's probably the correct thing. So, yeah, this is obviously terrible. I'm not really sure how this will guide policy decisions from NATO and from the United States. This obviously makes Russia look even worse, so there's probably more political leverage to be utilized in terms of enacting more harsher, either sanctions or whatever. But yeah, right now it just looks really bad for Russia. And I don't know. It's only gonna get worse for them. I mean, we'll see what happens, but this is obviously a terrible, tragedy, and fuck Russia. That's all I gotta say. And let's see. I don't know what's gonna happen after this. Hopefully, they need to take, they need to go to the next step in terms, and by they I'm referring to NATO. Needs to take the next steps to more harsher sanctions or whatever they feel appropriate. So yeah, this is really bad, and people like Jimmy Dore and Aaron Monte and all that are gonna be just doing whataboutism, right, with the United States like they always do. All right. All right. Well, yeah, I think that this is all I wanted to talk about. All right. Well, let's see. It's almost 12. Yeah. So I think we're gonna be good to go here. I'll look to see if there's anything else I want to discuss, but I'm pretty sure there isn't. Mm. Yeah, I think we're good. But yeah. Okay. Well, there's not much more for me to talk about that I want to talk about, but yeah. So I might release some 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 videos this week. I'm gonna need to find some time to record and all that, of course, but I heard that Halo Infinite Season 2 is coming soon, so that's cool. But Halo Infinite right now is pretty shit. Alright, well, anyway, there's not much more for me to talk about here. I just want to thank you all for watching. And, have a safe week and all that. And I'll see you guys in the next stream. So, peace out.